All right, welcome back to another episode of The Doctor's Inn. I am your doctor, C.G. Weinberg, and today I have your prescription for you. It's one that I found, that was written later in my life, and then I picked it up, that I really do enjoy. Kid book, middle grade fiction, that the author does a fantastic job of drawing people in to a good story. And I think that's because he pulls from some of the greatest stories. And this book is none other, books are none other than the Kane Chronicles from Riordan. Now, most famously, Riordan wrote The Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, and that whole series there on Greek mythology, and then tied it into Roman mythology later on. But the Kane Chronicles are a lesser known one, mainly because they don't have a movie or a TV show after them. But I actually think it's his best work. The Kane Chronicles are on Egyptian mythology, and he does a really good job of tying all this into the real world. And I think really getting the spirit of the Egyptian mythology. Now, he handles it in a very kid way. So Kane Chronicles, 3 books: The Red Pyramid, The Throne of Fire, and The Serpent Shadow. And he handles these mythologies in a very kid way. I have read some Egyptian mythology books. I have read a lot of Greek mythology and Roman mythology books. And if you're going to the true myths, they are actually quite dark. And so I wouldn't really give young kids the real mythology, like Edith Hamilton's mythology. I would not give that to like a 4th grader or a 3rd grader, because it would actually be too crass for them. But I would totally give them his Percy Jackson series, The Lightning Thief, and allow them to interact with these mythologies that way. I would totally give them the Kane Chronicles and let them interact with Egyptian mythology that way, because it is really good for them to be doing that. Now, some plot for the Kane Chronicles. And I would show you the book, but I actually don't have these in physical form. Weirdly enough, I actually bought them on my Kindle so I could read them at work, so my boss wouldn't know what I was reading. Not my current job, an old job, and I'll keep which job it was on the DL, so that those old bosses don't know I was reading while I was supposed to be working. To be fair, it was a sales job, so I wasn't neglecting my work, but there was no one there, so I was reading. But yeah, so I read all of the Kane Chronicles while working. It was a sales job, I was on commission, so they were not paying me to read, but there was nothing to do at the time, and so wintertime is slow, so I read a lot. So yeah, I read these in my mid-20s. I really enjoyed them. But yeah, some plots. The first one, The Red Pyramid. The main characters, Carter and Sadie Kane, for the Kane Chronicles, find out that they are part of a secret society called the House of Life. And their father, Julius, performs a ceremony at the beginning that releases 5 of the Egyptian gods into the world, which is a problem. So yeah, Carter and Sadie become Horus and Iris, those 2 gods. And they indwell their spirit, or the spirit of those gods indwell the kids, and they have to figure out how to exhibit these powers and do all these things. And that is kind of the first book, is them learning how to be Egyptian magicians. That is a hard phrase to say, Egyptian magician. So that's really the first book, is learning about their power. The second book is because their dad released 5 gods. One of the main Egyptian god is Set, who is the god who really likes chaos. He really messes things up all the time in true Egyptian mythology. And Set comes out, actually gets latched onto their uncle Amos, and then goes about trying to release Amorphous, the serpent of chaos, from the underworld, which is kind of a bad thing. So Set is out in the world, causing chaos, causing ruckus, and book 2, The Throne of Fire, is all about trying to figure out what he's doing, and Amorphous is coming into the world. So, chaos, hell, is literally breaking loose. And finally, in the third book, The Serpent's Shadow, is them trying to figure out a way to stop Amorphous from coming, and the only way to do that, they found out in book 2, is to awaken Ra. And so book 3 is all about getting Ra to come out of retirement and to circle the world again and come down, so become invigorated through the rebirth cycle and come back and fight Amorphous and stop the world from falling into chaos. So that is the high level overview of the 3 books. And if you're used to mythologies, that is the Egyptian one is actually pretty coherent and large mythology. So it's actually full it is pretty encompassing, unlike a lot of mythologies. So like a lot of Greek ones are way more this story here and this story here, whereas Egyptian is kind of the whole world. The Norse mythology is also the whole world. So Ragnarok's coming, which Riordan does do a Norse mythology, which I would say I think is his worst series out there. So I tried to read his Norse ones. I absolutely hated them. I thought they were terrible. I like the Greek. I like the Roman. I really love this one. So this one I think is his best work, and it's his lesser known ones. His Norse ones, I don't know. I just really did enjoy most of them. I think part of it is because I think he epically messed up Thor. Thor he makes into basically a dumb jock, which I mean is not far off it, but also I think he's more than that. So like I'm fine with him making Bacchus and Dionysus a fool in his Greek and Roman ones. Like that's fine. Bacchus/Dionysus is a fool, but like Zeus isn't necessarily a fool, and he doesn't make him a fool there. So like if you're gonna make someone a fool, make the fool the fool. I don't think Thor is really a fool, and that's where he really lost me there. But in this one, he does a good job channeling what the god should have been doing in Greek mythology. So he really did a good job there. So big overview there. I think he does a good job of getting Egyptian mythology into the culture today. It's fun times. Baboons in, I believe it was Memphis, if I remember right. Crazy times. But yeah, they worked out. Which would have been, if I remember right, Thoth. T-H-O-T. Thoth. Whatever the Egyptian god of knowledge was. He was a baboon, and he was in Memphis. Why in Memphis? I don't know, but he was covered in barbecue sauce, which good on you for including barbecue sauce in Memphis. So yeah, major themes in it are going to be family, identity, and responsibility. So Carter and Sadie are 2 kids who have to save the world. That's a big responsibility. Family, how are brother and sister tying together? Father, son, daughter, father, uncle, and everything between as they deal with their other identity, which then identity really comes into it. How are they different from the gods that are embodying them? How are they different and the same? So these are the things they're dealing with, which is really good. I think Rick does a really good job of dealing with this. At least shining light on the problem for parents to then talk to them. Now, as a Christian, the big one that is always going to be coming up is why would a Christian parent give their kid mythologies to read? That is a good question, one that must be answered well and cohesively, and so I'm going to try to here. And I would say this is the same thing as with Harry Potter. So why magic? This has a ton of magic in it. Why mythologies? Why other world systems? And I think that is a huge key on it's another world system. So why study mythologies? Well, so Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Norse, not really Norse, Egyptian mythology. You know what? That is really prevalent in the time of the Bible. Like Joseph was a magician. He practiced divination. At least that's what he told his brothers when they came for his help. The silver chalice, the silver cup that he hid in Benjamin's bag of grain. was the cup he used to practice divination in. So unless he's lying to his brother, which I don't think he is, he was a diviner. He was part of the Egyptian system of mythologies. What are you going to deal with that? It was not condemned to Joseph. Moses was raised in this culture. The Egyptian magicians had a magic battle with Moses, and they were even until the later plagues. So, like, how are you going to deal with this? You should know that men of old had real power. Like, they weren't tricks. I don't believe, like, the Egyptian magicians were able to turn their staffs into snakes. I really believe that. I don't think it was sleight of hand. I think it was real magic. And whose magic prevailed? God. Moses' magic prevailed. His snake ate their snakes. I think was a big omen to them. They all made cobras, hypothetically. Moses is one. Because whose God is stronger? So Harry Potter magic and whatnot, all these types of magic, it is really important. Where is the magic coming from? So Egyptian, Greek, Roman, Norse even, all of these magic systems, I would say, were demonic. The power came from demons. They were not figuring out the natural order of the world and using science in magical ways. I believe they were actually demonically powered. Now, you can disagree with me. You can say it is just science, blah, 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 whatever. Science, though, is magical. So you can make something magnetic and make it float. Levitation, boom, real. You can put things into a vial, shake it up, inject it in someone, and heal them. Sounds like magic to me, but we call it science today because it's repeatable. We can always do it. So Harry Potter's potions are not so far off from modern medicine. And these are the things that we should be talking about, is where it matters where the power comes from, and where does true power come from? God. So yeah, you can go and deal with demons, and it fails. It requires real sacrifice. So if you're looking in the Bible, the prophets of Baal, if you want to pronounce it that way, which I like to. I like putting the apostrophe in the middle. Baal. If you were a follower of that deity, then you would cut yourself and bleed and sacrifice things that shouldn't be sacrificed in order to try and win the god's favor. Molech, that god required infant sacrifice. You had to sacrifice your babies to get what you wanted. So like, these gods required real sacrifices. The God of the Bible required real sacrifices, but it was always the firstborn sheep, firstborn cows, doves. So depending on what the sacrifice was, there were prescribed things to be the sacrifices. But it was always animals, which was costly monetarily, because livestock was actually a currency back then. Barter was their system of trade. They had money, but bartering was a massive thing. So it was costly, but it was not of the demonic sort. It was not of the type you couldn't get back. So the prophets of Baal had to cut off limbs, slice themselves, blah blah blah. Molech was your children. That was your generation. Children were the retirement plan. You had lots of kids so they could care for you when you were old. That's how life worked. But Molech, you had to cut off your life source in order to get their power. These are all wrong systems of power. Now, Harry Potter is very much a more natural set. So you wave your wand the correct way, and poof, out comes the thing. Not so dissimilar from science. Now, Kane Chronicles are very much the natural order of things as well. So the magic they do is based on the natural order of things. You would tie into the Duat, which was the mystical world, not so dissimilar from Platonic thought, which I'll be doing some Plato videos here pretty shortly as well, talking about the cave and whatnot. The Duat, the Tao, Plato's the One, which is Neoplatonic thought, the Manichaeism, which was be chaos and order. All these things tie together because they knew the world was built on natural order. They knew that the world is magical. They knew it followed a system, and that if you could tie into the system, you could then have it do what you wanted it to do. So if you read the old scientists, you read the old mathematicians, Aristotle, Archimedes, all these guys, Galen, they understood the world to follow order, and you could tie into that order, which is what they do in King Chronicles, is they're tying into the natural order of things. And if you know the right system of codes, how to wave your wand or have the power, the natural power flow through you, you could then make it work. So the magic is in the world, which is true. It's not untrue. The life is in the blood, according to the Bible, according to God. So there you go. They are tying into truth here. Now the ancient magicians would have been seeing demons doing these things. We as Christians can see God doing these things. So we can look at it rightly, which is the way to do it. So yes, the world is magical. So teach myths to understand that they had some things right in ancient Egypt. They had things right in ancient Greece. They had things right in ancient Rome. They had a lot of things wrong. And weirdly, every time you see these things pop up in pagan culture, it is almost always tangential to running into Jewish culture. So Joseph going into Egypt, well, they had power there because they were touching the people of God. The Greeks, through Pythagoras, went and learned from the disciples of Moses in Babylon, i.e. Daniel. That was then tangential to the Romans. The Romans then later in the story actually had Christians in Rome. Christ was born during the reign of the Roman emperors. So all these things are tangential to Christianity. That's why they have a lot of things right, is because Christians were there, well, Jews were there influencing them. People who understood the way were influencing the cultures there. That's why they had so many things right. Now, did it save them? No. Most of these people were not Christian. Plato, Socrates, Cicero. These guys were not believers. Just because you do a bunch of right things does not make you saved. You have to have faith. Faith in the Messiah to come, or faith in the Messiah that did come, i.e. Christ. That is the way to salvation. So that is why you should be teaching your kids mythologies, is so that they can look back and view history correctly. The other reason why is to engage the culture. So why do these mythologies keep coming up? Why is Riordan a very successful author? Because people today are looking for answers. So they are looking to the old stories. Why is Stoicism having a rise? Why is Roman Catholicism having a rise? Because people are looking for systems of thought that actually work. They've been told that these things don't work, i.e. existentialism, absurdism, all these things, all these isms in the postmodern age, to throw off God, that gave no answers, that only gave chaos. So people are looking for answers, and this is where they're finding them. They're looking for stories that actually show them ways to go. So we must engage with the culture today and understand what they're looking at in order to say, yes, you see how this is right, and look, hey, this system, i.e. Christianity, is more right. This system here fills in all the answers. Christianity has something that actually works fully, and that is why you should teach your kids myths. So you should go get your kid a copy of the King Chronicles, have them read it, and discuss these things with them, because it is rollicking fun. And yes, I said that one on purpose because Rick Riordan wrote it. So that is your prescription for today. If you like this, give me a like, give me a comment, tell me something you'd like me to review. Tell me why I'm wrong about mythology, if you dare so. And hey, I'll respond with another video to your arguments. So tell me why I'm wrong and I'll engage with you. Or tell me why I'm right and I'll engage with you too. If you want to know when my next video comes out, subscribe. And if you want to encourage someone to read more fiction, share this video with them. And with all that said, for today, the doctor is out.